don't put your actual geographic location like on social media. Don't live post and say, hey everyone, I'm coming live from Italy and here's what I'm eating for breakfast. Like, please don't do that. You can film the content, take pictures, and create posts to post after you get back from vacation. And that actually makes it so that you're enjoying your trip. Hello, and welcome to the Master the Media podcast. I'm your host, Amy Gorin, and I am so excited to talk with you today about the 5 things that you should never tell anyone. So let's dive in. Okay, number 1 is how much money you make. Sometimes you should stay quiet with this, sometimes you should not. So I want to talk about this a little bit. So I work in a field, dietetics, where it's historically been very tight-lipped. Like, you don't share how much money you make, especially from brand partnerships, until I feel like I've done a lot to break the seal on that. So let's talk about this actually. So there used to be a lot of gatekeeping about, how much do you get from spokesperson gigs? Or is it like $100 or $500 or 1,000 or 10,000 or $50,000? And so when I first became a dietitian back in 2015, I took my first month or two and I reached out to every media dietitian I knew. And I was just like, you know what? This is my time to just ask questions and hopefully people will just answer them. And so I asked like the hard questions, like, how do you land spokesperson gigs? How do you land paid brand partnerships? How much money do you make from these? And every single media dietitian I talked to gave me answers, which I was very grateful for, except for one. And she was like, I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that. And I'm pretty sure out of everyone I talked to, she was the one who made the most money. Just FYI. So my point is that, okay, if you're at dinner with your best friends, don't share how much your paycheck was for this week. But if you're out to drinks with your physician colleagues or dietitian colleagues and someone says, well, a brand just approached me about doing a TV segment or doing a culinary demo at an event or doing a social media post, what have you charged for that? Like, answer that question for them. If you have the experience, share it. So like, you know it would be like, well, I have gotten paid up to $5,000 for a social media post. It depends a little bit on your following, and it depends, on your engagement. So like, your following could be on the smaller side. It could be like 1,000, 2,000 people, but if your engagement is super, super, super high, then a brand is willing to pay more for that. And then if you post on, say, the primary post is on Instagram and you cross post that to other platforms like YouTube Shorts and TikTok and Facebook Reels, then you can charge, more for that too. And by the way, I have cross posted on, um, like TikTok, and I have like just a few hundred followers, but you can bundle things together, which is what we teach in Master the Media. And you can kind of get paid for that by bundling it with, I have, a higher following on Facebook Reels. So I'm bundling that together with a small following and a big follow. So, and I will also say, if you run any kind of a course where you're teaching people to do whatever it is that you do, also share what you make. So I'll give you an example, right? Within Master the Media, like, we tell people, you like we'll teach you how to land $50,000 in brand partnerships within the next 6 months. And by the year 2030, that's $500,000. People wouldn't believe that I know how to teach them how to do that if I haven't shared how much money I've made working from brands, right? So I'd say, like, I don't know, like 4 or so years ago, I I had been thinking about it for a while. Like, I feel like if I shared my income from brand partnerships, it would be the biggest game changer in Master the Media, and just showing people that I have the experience it takes to teach them how to do this too. But I was like, oh, that's uncomfortable. I don't know if my husband would like me doing that. And there was one, like, I think it was literally 4 or 5 years ago, but there was a launch and I was like, oh, this launch isn't going that well. Not that many people are enrolling. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to share. I'm going to share that in my second year as a dietitian, I earned $262,000 from brand partnerships. And that was just my brand partnership income, not my private practice income. You guys, I shared that and like people came running in. They were like, oh my gosh, I want you to help me do the same thing. I want you to help me do the same thing. And it was all about that. If you don't have that social proof of I have done this, I'm teaching you how to do it, people won't trust you. So in your private life, you know, maybe don't tell your brother, your sister, what you earn, but in your professional life, there are some places it really, really, really is helpful. Okay, number 2 is how you're feeling personally, and a lot of these you're going to be like, no, I'm not actually serious here. Like, tell people how you're feeling. I think one of the biggest strengths that and the biggest underrated strength that you have, that a lot of people have, is the ability to connect with other humans. And I've literally talked about poop on this podcast. And I don't know, maybe some people don't like that, but I think like I'm getting at the human side of things, right? Like, and if you don't share what's going on in your personal life, and of course we all have different degrees of how much we're willing to share and how much we're comfortable sharing. Like, I don't post my child's face on social media because I want to be safe. But like, I talk about her, I talk about my husband, I talk about like my personal life, and especially with my like when you're doing media interviews and you give that personal experience of, well, I had a UTI and this is what I did to get rid of the UTI. Like, that is going to be the thing that makes the outlet want to feature you. The same thing goes for brand partnerships. Like, some of my favorite brand partnerships were really the most personal ones. So there's a supplement for urinary health, actually for vaginal health. And it's made by a company called Metagenics. They're this amazing supplement company. And I've been taking their product for years. Like, I used to get recurrent UTIs and I started taking this probiotic and I was like, this is magic. And so I actually approached them and I was like, hey, I take this product. I don't think many people know about it. I would love to help you get the word out about it to both consumers and other healthcare professionals so they know how to share about that. And so we ended up doing this really cool partnership where I did media interviews on social media for consumers, but then I also did a webinar to educate other healthcare professionals and a whole campaign with newsletters and emails and things like that. And that wouldn't have happened if I was like, oh, I don't want to talk about my vaginal health, which, I mean, I admit it was a little, I don't know, maybe like the first time I shared about something like this publicly, I was like, that's a lot to share, but you kind of just get used to it. So, so I would say the more, like, as much as you're open to sharing, like, I don't talk about like if my husband, has a cold on social media, like that's his private life. I don't talk about that. But like, my life is up for grabs. Okay, I'm gonna say number 3 is your age. And I'm just gonna say, just kidding, like, tell people your age if it's relevant. So I'm saying this because I get a lot of people coming into my inbox, into the master classes that I run for Master the Media, and they're kind of like, well, I'm in my 60s. I don't see a lot of other healthcare professionals doing media work, doing brand partnership work, or I'm in my 50s, or sometimes I'm even in my 70s. And my answer is always like, we have a lot of students within that age range within Master the Media who we've successfully helped get featured in the media, land those paid brand partnerships. But sometimes people don't look their age, maybe, and you don't know that they are the same age as you. That's possible. And so it goes to kind of like, if you're not sharing that, like, the brands who want to work with you might not find you. Also, same thing with media, like, AARP, for instance, which is like, okay, I've been featured in them even like 5 years ago when I was in my 30s, but like, they say they're doing an article on like, what do 60-year-olds do to stay healthy, and they want to feature you who's a 60-year-old. Like, they should know that that's your age. It also just helps people relate to you as both a human and a business owner. So like, hi everyone, I'm Amy. I'm 44 years old and I have a 7-month-old baby. Maybe that's not normal, but I'm sharing that because I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there about like what you can and can't do at certain ages. I don't even know. I never like thought too much about having a baby when I was in my 20s and even my early 30s. And like then I was like, well, my husband and I started trying several years ago. It took a while because we did IVF. We did like 3 rounds of IVF. Anyway, my point is like, okay, I just shared that maybe I just helped some other woman out there who's like in her early 40s who's like, oh, I can still have kids. Like you just never know who you're helping by sharing that information. Okay, number 4, this is a real one. So I'm not going to say just kidding. Don't put your actual geographic location like on social media. Like, and what I mean by this is if you're on vacation, like don't live post and say, hey everyone, I'm coming live from Italy and here's what I'm eating for breakfast. Like, please don't do that because that just like, so my husband works in cybersecurity. He's taught me a lot. But this is one of the things like early on when we started dating, he was like, we can't post live from our trips. And I was like, that sucks, but I've gotten used to it. And I actually feel a lot better now that we have like, a home and we have a kid and pets and like I don't want people knowing when I'm away on vacation. And so, you can film the content, take pictures and create posts to post after you get back from vacation. And that actually makes it so that you're enjoying your trip and you're being more intentional and present, which I think is just such a great thing. No, I will say the difference is like if I'm somewhere at a conference, like at Fancy every year in October, and my husband's at home and it's like very obvious, like I'm traveling alone, then I might post like, I mean, it makes sense to be like, here's who I, had lunch with, or here's the brand I talked to today at Fancy. And it's not like, hey, go rob my house because my husband's home. So like, that's okay. Okay. I'm going to add in a potentially unpopular opinion as number 5. Don't tell anyone your strong, like, don't say publicly your strong political stance. And I say this because, okay, so way back in the day in journalism school, like one of the first things I was taught was like, okay, you are a journalist, Amy. You have to be unbiased. This was like back in the day when things were actually unbiased. And so you keep your political beliefs to yourself because then it's not publicly known like whether there's any bias, like if you're writing about something that's goes liberal or conservative or whatever. So I went to journalism school like back in 2004 to 2007, my undergrad and my graduate degree. And so ever since then I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to keep that all to myself. And it's actually been really nice just to be like, okay, I can have whatever views I have. I'm not going to, because I'm not going to share them right now. I'm not going to make them public. But I keep those to myself and to my, personal conversations. And I think it just keeps, you know, it keeps my business posts, my brand partnership stuff that is like solely focused on where the focus should be. Like, this product is healthy. I like to recommend this supplement. Now I know like the world is nuts right now and it's a little different, but and a lot of us have strong opinions and maybe you want to share yours. And I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying for me personally, I like to keep those things personal because it helps me focus my public persona on the things that matter. So those are my 5 things that you should never tell anyone. So as a recap, number 1, how much money you make, but you can tell people that depending on the situation. Number 2 is how you're feeling, and just kidding, like tell people how you're feeling. Tell people your personal stuff. Number 3 is your age. Again, that's something that I think you should just share. Number 4 is real though, like your geotags on social media, like please do not, like put those on, and please do not live post when you're not at home. And number 5 is your political views. That one, tell me if you agree or disagree with me. I'm curious. So if you want to learn more about what we do over here in Master the Media and how to land paid brand partnerships and how to get featured in the media, I have a free guide for you. So go to masterthemedia.co/start to grab that free guide.